Hi, welcome to this webinar. We're going to discuss the US TSCA and the EU REACH with the new obligations to manufacturers. The topics we're going to cover are the TSCA, Toxic Substances Control Act, and 5 restricted substances. Then we will look at REACH and 211 SVHCs, 2 additional SVHCs or substances of very high concern have been added to the list, and we will look at them. Then the REACH SCIP database will give a tutorial how to register your products on this database. Then we will look at the QC 080,000, which is a management system to achieve compliance towards this type of regulations, including RoHS. And if we have time after 45 minutes, we will do a FAQ, but please leave comments below the description. And if you have some specific questions, you could send us an email at contact@enviropass.ca. Who is Enviropass? We are a consulting company dedicated in the field of product environmental compliance. So we touch everything that is related to your environmental requirements for your products before you launch them into the market. So we touch RoHS, Restriction of Hazardous Substances, REACH, the SCIP notifications, Toxic Substances Control Act, or TSCA. We also do so the waste of electronic equipment. We can also assist you with conflict minerals, California Prop 65, etc. We either assess your products, or you can also ask us for training. So we would give customized training so that you can handle these requirements internally yourself. You may follow us on LinkedIn to keep abreast on product environmental compliance, and also follow us on our YouTube channel. We launched 2 online training courses. One is the Introduction to Product Environmental Compliance, starting at only $39, and the other one is Everything You Wanted to Know on RoHS. It's a 5 hours training, starting at 439 Canadian dollars. So you will get really everything you need to implement RoHS compliance internally. If you want to look at these training and the description, you could click on the link below, which is on the description of this webinar. My name is Ori. I work for Enviropass. I'm an environmental compliance specialist located in Canada. And I'm a certified environmental auditor by the Canadian agencies. And if you have any specific questions, feel free to send me an email at contact@enviropass.ca. Either me or my colleagues will be able to address your questions, and you can follow me on LinkedIn as well. So let's go into this presentation. This is not an exhaustive presentation. We cannot cover everything in the regulation itself, but we try to simplify some concepts to facilitate a general understanding on these requirements. So let's start with the TSCA, Toxic Substances Control Act, which is a regulation that is very brand new in the US. I mean, the TSCA is not new, but the reform is very new, and the addition of 5 restricted substances in electronic product, or any type, I would say, of product would need to be assessed. Since the TSCA reform, the Environmental Protection Agency, which is the EPA in the US, must take action on particular chemical substances identified as persistent, bioaccumulative, and toxic, or PBT. As a result, the EPA has decided to restrict the use of the following 5 substances. The number one is DKBDE. DKBDE is used in wires, cables, rubber casing, electronic equipment casings, also in building construction materials. You may recognize this substance because if you already do RoHS, it's part of the PBDEs, polybrominated diphenyl ethers, under RoHS. So this substance is being prohibited since March 8th. So you see it's very new. However, there are different dates and different exemptions. So you may have a close look at the regulation itself. Here you see the link. You could Google that link and you will see the regulation and see whether or not your product is in the scope, and if you need to make sure that you don't have any of DKBDEs in your products. Number 2 is PIP31. This substance, PIP31, is a flame retardant used in plastics, especially in PVC plastics, like cables, for example. We will find it also in adhesives, in sealants. It's used also as a functional fluid in aircraft and industrial machinery. So this substance is, let me make the screen bigger. Okay. This substance is being restricted since February of this year. So you see it's very recent. Again, there are some possible exemptions, and there is an extension until September of this year to article manufacturers. So if you manufacture electronic equipment, for example, this is, you are still under a grace period until September. So you may want to already verify whether or not your products contain these substances to be ready for September. Number 3 is PCTP. PCTP is used pretty much in rubber products. So if you have a rubber, you may have PCTP, but the concentration limit is 1% per weight in the article. So it's higher than the other substances. And this is already in force since March 8th of this year. Number 4, HCBD. HCBD is a solvent. It's used in the production of solvents, and also restricted this year. Very recent restriction. It's also a POP substance. So if you know you are POP compliant, or your products or your solvents or mixtures are POP compliant, you shouldn't have HCBD. So you should also comply with this requirement. POP meaning persistent organic pollutants, which is a European regulation. Number 5 is 2,4,6-TTBP. 2,4,6-TTBP is used in fuel, oil, lubricant, as an additive, as a cleaner as well. The concentration is 0.35%. There are other requirements, as you can see. And this substance is going to be restricted in 2026. So not yet, but it's coming. So that was it about TSCA. Let's jump into REACH 211. So why is it 211? It's because of a list of substances of very high concern, so-called SVHC. So usually we see this acronym SVHC, which restricts the use of 211 substances right now. Every 6 months, this list is updated. But we have 211 substances above concentration of 0.1%. At the component level, you must disclose to final users these SVHCs. So let's say you have an assembly, you have different components in your assembly, or every component must meet the requirements of 0.1% concentration threshold for any of these 211 SVHCs. If you exceed for any of them, you exceed 0.1% in one component, you will need to declare it. And we will look at especially a new requirement, which is an obligation to declare it on an online database called the SCIP database. Every 6 months, this list of SVHCs is updated and new substances are added. Last time was January this year, so it's typically in January and July. And in January, 2 substances have been added. And these new substances are, number 1, the tetra-EGDME. Tetra-EGDME, different names here. This is used especially in lithium-ion battery technology. In the manufacture of soldering fluxes and solder pastes. So you will find it in electronic, optical products, in paint, adhesives, and different various applications. You could see the link below. You will have more details. It comes directly from the European Chemicals Agency, the ECHA, and you will see why they decided to restrict this substance for hazardous issues, and where these substances are likely to be found. The number 2 substance is diacyltin dilaurate. Diacyltin dilaurate is used massively in the manufacture of plastic products, fabrics, textiles, apparel, and leather. It's a stabilizer, catalyst in the production of plastics, rubber, adhesives, sealants, coating, paints, thinners, paint remover, filler, pudding, plasters, etc. So it's used in various applications, many applications. And again, you see the link below where you could click on this link or access it, and then you will get more details on what is this substance and where it's likely to be found, what concentration, etc. So let's say you have a rich substance. You find out that there is some SVHCs, or at least one in your product. What do you have to do for a complex product? Well, you have to inform your customers that they do have these, you do have this substance in their products. So other substances in articles or complex objects must be declared via a database, which is a SCIP database. It's called SCIP database. It's managed by the European Chemicals Agency, and it covers most complex products. You see here some examples. PCB assembly would be on the SCIP database, a plane, a car, satellite. So it doesn't matter if it's consumer or a professional B2B type of product, you will need to report it. If it's just a part or a simple item which is not finished, you will still need to report it on the SCIP database. So if you don't declare anything on the SCIP database, you are basically saying that you don't have any SVHCs above the declarable threshold, which is possible. But if it's not the case and the European Union finds out that it's not the case, well, in that case, your product could be withdrawn from the market. You may have to fix the situation before being able to reintroduce into the European market. The SCIP database. So here is a tutorial step-by-step on how to prepare a complex product dossier on the SCIP database. So we will do it from the scratch, step-by-step. So if you Google SCIP, reach SCIP, you will eventually find this website, the eka.europa.eu/SCIP, SCIP. And then you will see first page where you could access the cloud services. So that's where you need to click in order to declare your product and the SVHCs in your product. So you click on Access ECA Cloud Services, and then you will need to register. So they will ask you like for details about your company, where it is, credentials about your company, pretty much. If you have already registered with the ECA Cloud Services for other tools, then you would just need to log in. Then when you log in, you would access this page. And here you would click on ECA Cloud Services. That's where you would be able to do your SCIP notifications. Then you will access this page, and then you would click on subscribe on the first option. You would access this page, and you would close that. It would tell you that you are welcome on what they call the IOCLID, which is the cloud services managed by the ECA. So once you close it, then you would click on articles. You don't manufacture substances, mixtures. It's really applicable to articles, including complex articles. So here you see a very simple screw, but if your products are more complex, well, that's on the same place that you need to click. Then you would be on this page, so you would add a new article. If you have already added articles, they will be listed here. But if it's the new time, the first time that you are doing it, then you would just need to click on the plus, or on the top, it says new article. You can click there as well, same thing. Then you would access this page. Then here you would create a new article. You would enter its name. So here we entered fictitious medical device, FMD 100. You would enter the device name, and then you would enter its identifier type. Here we use the FDA identifier type, but you could use, you have different options, European ones and other type of options to identify your article. All of these fields are mandatory, so you need to give a unique identification of your product here. And then you would create your article. Then it would tell you that the article has been created successfully. And then you would click on open. You'd access this page, and you will be able to make your declarations on your product. So you see here, it says fictitious medical device FMD 100. So your product is registered. You can see the name of the product. Now, what you need to do is click on please search and select to select the article category. So you would have many options, and you would need to type either you already have the product code, or you would type description of the product and find the right code. In that case, it's magnetic resonance imaging device. So we found it, and we get this description here. So you would select it once you find the best fit for your product, the best description. Then you would click on production in the European Union, and it will ask you whether it's imported in the European Union or produced in the European Union. So in that case, here it this product is produced overseas, but imported in the European Union. And then you would need to click on New Item if you want to declare a SVHC that is found in a part within your product. So you have the whole product, the whole medical device in this example. You won't declare all of the components in your BOM, all of the components in your parts list. No, only the components that do contain at least one substance of very high concern, one SVHC. In that case, you would need to click on New Item. Then you would click on article, and you will select the article. So you will create an article within your product. Here it says not found because you don't have any other articles already created for your product. So you need to create a new article or a new component, if you will, in your product. And you have a list of questions about this article. Some are mandatory, others are optionals. Optional. So you need to click on the first one, article name. Article name field is mandatory. So then you would enter the name, and you could enter really the name of the product. There is no, you don't have to select anywhere, like you enter really like the name. You enter also its identifier, just as you did with your whole medical device. And then you would enter whether it's imported or produced in the European Union. Since your product, the whole assembly is imported in the European Union, everything that is inside is also imported in the European Union. Then you would enter the SVHC that is in this article. You would enter it in the category called concern elements. You would add new and enter the cast number or the name of the SVHC. And then the concentration range. So if you don't know the concentration, you just know it's above the threshold, then you would report between 0.1% to 100%. That's by default what you would declare. So here, this substance is the tetra EGDME, which is used in the lithium-ion battery inside of my medical device. Then you would click on Save. And you have created your component with the SVHC. So you would click on Save again. And then here you would click on Save. So you can see you have your product listed with lithium-ion battery, and inside of the lithium battery, the SVHC. So you could also declare multiple SVHCs. It's possible that there are several SVHCs in one same component. Then you would click on Save when it's done. You would select, so now you need to validate the data before submitting it to the officially on the iCloud. So you need to click on New Working Context. Then on New Working Context, you will see this little window that would pop up. You would select that it's about SCIP notification and click on Apply. Then you will receive this, you will see this page, and you will click on Validate. And it's gonna validate your data. So if there is no issue, that's what you will see. No business, rule failures, etc. If there is an issue, the issue will be declared here as well. Then you have created, you have validated your dossier, and then you need to create before submitting it. So you would click on create dossier again. Then your dossier is created. When you submit a dossier, then a submission number will be given to you. You will also receive a submission report with a SCIP alpha numerical number that you can share with your customers or third parties. Then you can proceed to submission of your dossier. You can also view your dossiers by clicking here. So that's the idea how to declare SVHC in a complex product. The ICA has published different tips in a document called Key Tips for Successful SCIP Notifications. And I found particularly helpful to improve your data submission a couple of tips. So let me show you what these tips are. The first one that we found very helpful at Enviropass is grouping. You group identical or quasi-identical articles. So let's say you have different models for one same type of product. You don't have to make multiple declarations, especially if they have the same SVHCs, same substances, pretty much same declaration, just different type, different features in your products. You can group. You can definitely group, or even if you are talking about the same type of components that have the same SVHCs, same supplier, it's just a component family, then you could also group it. So that's very convenient, very useful, and it will save you a lot of energy and time by grouping as much as possible. Another tip that we found particularly interesting is to reference. You use referencing in complex dossiers. What does it mean? It means that you need to request SCIP numbers from your suppliers. So when you would ask for, let's say you ask your suppliers whether or not a specific product contains substances of very high concern, you would also ask them if they already have registered via the SCIP database. And if they have, well, ask for their SCIP numbers so that you could enter the number when you do your declaration, and you would benefit from any information, applicable information you were already, your suppliers have already entered in the SCIP database, so that you save a lot of time, you avoid mistakes, etc. It's very convenient, very useful if your suppliers have done the notifications. Tip 3 is only the lowest number of layers of components apply. So let's say you have sub-assemblies between the finished product and the component that contains the SVHC. You don't have to declare all of the different sub-assemblies. We don't really want to know that. That's not the intent of the SCIP notifications. The SCIP database wants to know whether or not there is a SVHC and where it is in your design, not necessarily knowing what are the different layers of sub-assemblies in your product. So you don't have to do that. You can jump directly from the last level of your assembly, if you will. So you typically have your product name and the last level and the SVHC. So that was everything about these tips. So how to face these numerous requirements? That's typically questions customers ask. So many requirements, we receive all the time new obligations, new requirements. We don't even know where we find them, where to look. One thing you could do, it's totally free. You subscribe to our newsletter, and we will let you know. You will receive 2-3 newsletters, maybe 4 per year, depending on how many requirements are amended or created worldwide. So you will receive this newsletter, and we will tell you what are the news. Or attend to this kind of event via YouTube Live. It's a very good way for you to learn what are these requirements before being able to face them. You need to know what are the rules. You can also follow us on LinkedIn if you want to see the like more details on these different requirements. But if you just want to have a broad picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. If you want to look at very many small advancements in this type of legislation, then you would follow us on LinkedIn, and also follow us on YouTube, so that you can see some tutorials and different videos in this regard. Interesting tool to manage all of these requirements is the QC 080,000. In a nutshell, QC 080,000 is the internationally well-recognized tool that is used for hazardous substances process management. So you will use the best practices to perform due diligence. It is part of the IEC standards. So if you are familiar with IEC, it's one of their standards. And QC 080,000 is one of the standards of the IEC that are certified. So you could ask your management system to be certified by a third party, by your auditor. Then you will receive, just like your ISO, maybe your company is already ISO 9000 or 14,000. It's similar. You will have an auditor coming every year and verifying your management system and see if it's consistent with the QC 080,000 requirements, covering RoHS, REACH, other regulations like battery directive, packaging directives, regulations, etc. And that will be certified by a third party. Why getting the QC 080,000 certification? Here are some benefits. First one is improve quality insurance of your products and reduce costs. At the end, you will save a lot of cost by avoiding many mistakes, correction in your designs, etc. And you also gain more transparency by having a third party verifying your management system via standardized risk control of your substances. You'll reduce risks by selling non-compliant products. So you reduce this type of risk and make sure that your product would comply to the best of your knowledge, and you would be able to show due diligence, that you have performed due diligence, you followed the most well-recognized rules in the industry. And as a result, you would protect your investments. You are welcome to start that process by taking training on product environmental compliance and see what an environmental management system entails. You would click on the link below to access the online trainings. So if you are not familiar with all of these requirements, you just want to have a broad picture, I would start with the first course, which is the introduction to product environmental compliance. But if you already have a good idea of the applicable requirements in your industry, in your type of products, then you could jump directly into the RoHS for restriction of hazardous substances, which is the most critical regulation, I would say, for electronic devices. So that's probably the number one you want to achieve. and make sure that you do comply. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, this is the website where you would access. So here's the website where you would access the trainings. You just order the course. You have more details also here. It's managed by the Compliance Academy here. So let's look at the chat. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to add them at the comment zone or send us an email. We'll be glad to assist you. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's look at your questions, if any. Comments. Okay, I don't see much questions, so just leave you some time. If anyone has a question, comment, anything you want to ask, feel free also to use or email. Send an email. No question. Straightforward. Okay, then. So thank you very much for your time. And I hope you appreciate that. And don't hesitate to contact us in case you need some help. Thank you again. Bye-bye.